GM, welcome to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. Don't get caught in the hype cycle. I'm Jay Bird, and I believe that blockchain is going to change the world. That's why I'm carving a path for doers to confidently build and invest in Web3. On today's episode, we have with us Alex Shevchenko, the CEO and founder of Aurora Labs, which is a scaling solution for Ethereum built on top of Near protocol. This is the episode that every business needs to be listening to. If you are in a business and you're trying to figure out how do you adopt blockchain technology for your business, you need to listen to this. If you're a user, which we all are, of all businesses, you need to listen to this because you need to understand what are the different ways that blockchain is going to come into your life, is going to make your user experience better. There's so many ways that Aurora is providing incredible value to existing businesses. This episode is not about new businesses in Web3. This is about existing businesses adopting blockchain technology to add more value to their users, to increase their revenue, to decrease their costs, to achieve their objectives that they really care about, that they are constantly thinking about every day. Not about how to convince a business to understand decentralization or understand self-custody or understand the things that we talk about so much in Web3, because that's not what a new person in Web3 cares about. They care about the bottom line of their business. And Alex is approaching blockchain in such a pragmatic way. Just a wonderful, wonderful episode that really breaks things down in a way that we need to understand. He talks about user engagement and how blockchain can enhance user engagement. He talks about loyalty. We talked about the fractionalization of real estate and other real world assets. We talk about gaming assets and what can happen with blockchain around ownership and interoperability. We talk about supply chain management and the transparency and efficiencies that can come by using blockchain. We talk about compliance and the challenge that so many businesses face with being compliant, with following regulation, with paying their taxes, and how blockchain can enable that in a much more transparent way and a much more efficient way. It's just the level of knowledge that Alex brings. He's been in the space since 2015. He's OG. He understands things that I think he's been around long enough to see the hype cycles and then really break down to the core of what we are building here in Web3 and how we are going to onboard billions of people into this space. Alex started his career, well, before his career, he did his PhD in physics and math. So he's got that gigabrain mentality, that view as a mathematician. Then he worked at NVIDIA, where he worked on high performance computing. Then he was an entrepreneur, started some of his own businesses before joining Near Protocol. And then shortly after joining Near Protocol, he was asked to basically spin out of Near Protocol and start Aurora Labs as its own company within the Near ecosystem. You're going to hear that entire story today. So excited for this episode. So excited for you all to listen. Before we jump in, we'll just take a minute to hear from our sponsors.
The future of social media is here, and that future lives in Web3 on top of Lens protocol. Web2 social platforms are broken and ripe for disruption. You see, the epicenter of social media is the creators, and yet they are the most neglected. Web2 platforms like Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram are all essentially robbing creators of their worth. Creators are a new type of entrepreneur, forming new types of businesses. Yet with Web2 platforms, creators don't own their content or their profiles, and that's their product and business. Instead, they are tied to the platforms they choose to create on. Well, just like how crypto is freeing us from banks, Web3 is freeing us from these centralized platforms. On Lens Protocol, creators own their content, own their profile, and even their social graph and followers in the form of NFTs. This allows you to move freely from one social application to another with your content, profile, and followers moving along with you. Lens Protocol enables self-sovereignty for your social graph and interoperability across the internet. At Web3 Academy, we believe this is the future of social, and that's why we've partnered with Lens to ensure that the path of social media is heading in the right direction. Visit lens.xyz to learn more today.
What's up, y'all doers? We're seeing signs on chain of the very early stages of a crypto bull run. There's a big wave coming, and we want to make sure you're on it. Now's the time to capitalize on the opportunity. How, you ask? By starting to practice consistent dollar cost average buys into strong network-based assets like Ethereum and Bitcoin. However, when buying, please make sure to use a trusted exchange. Our newest sponsor, Buy DeFi, is a reliable exchange that offers you a platform to turn your fiat into crypto. They also offer awesome rewards, allowing you to earn up to $2,800 for completing easy tasks like setting up two-factor authentication and verifying your identity. If you're eager to get into the market, get started with Buy DeFi now by visiting buydefi.com, that's BYDFI.com, or clicking the link in the description below. GM Alex, welcome to Web3 Academy. Great to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me here. Super pumped up with this podcast.
I love it. It's great to feel pumped up right now in the space. We need that positive energy. And I saw you recently at Consensus, and you did a great speech about why we need more businesses in Web3. I sort of wanted to start there because, you've been in the space since 2015. You've been here for a while. After 10 years of us building crypto and building Web3, why is it not bigger yet?
Yeah, well, I think, honestly speaking, everything started as a rebellion, right? I feel like crypto is a man in its teens, right? He says that everything is wrong. I mean, parents don't know anything. The government is shit. You need to completely rebuild it. We are going to do a revolution here, right? So this is my feeling about crypto. And that is how everything was done. And that was the approach. And for similar types of people, this kind of approach makes sense. And everything started with the, crypto anarchists, and then younger people and people who are not very happy about their governments connected. Right, that's why you can find lots of Ukrainians, for example, and in general Eastern Europeans in crypto space, just because, and this happens just because they don't trust their government by default, right? This is how they were raised. This is how I was raised. But the majority of the world, especially the super wealthy people, they're not thinking like that. Their approach is, okay, I have my money. What I need to do is to de-risk my investment. I need no disruption happen. I need, all of that, kind of crazy stuff. And no, this is a risk for me because something can change every time when something disruptive is happening. The balance of power is changing, and because of this, I can lose my money. And this is how these people are thinking. And from that standpoint, this revolution is broken when it was trying to disrupt the current state of affairs. And because of this, businesses are not coming to the blockchain in general.
I love the analogy of crypto as a teenager, by the way. It's fantastic because no mature adult wants to work with a teenager, or very few do have the patience to do that and to see things through their eyes, because you have to accept a different way. And as you said, there's a lot of risk in accepting a new way. Okay, so then why are you here then? You're not a crypto teenager. You're one of the mature adults that's trying to build this the right way and bring in the enterprises and bring in the large businesses. Why are you here? When you think about what convictions you have, what are they?
So from the first time when I was going through the concept of the blockchain, I thought that, well, this technology actually matters. It is not yet another type of a database, right? So we can a little bit faster, things like that. It is not a new way how you are able to create more addicting games, yet another Candy Crush or whatever is there, right? It's not something like that, right? It's something new. It is a new type of a philosophy. This is something that brings new concepts. For me, the aha moment of the blockchain was that, well, actually, you are able to kind of implement some complicated logic that is going to work there. And this logic can create a trust layer in between different participants. And again, as for me, my first thoughts were, oh my God, we can do a proper democratic voting that is much better than the current voting system in the countries, right? So there will be no possible bribery happening. It's not going to make sense, right? You can bribe a person, but then he can cast another vote and another vote, and you never know what was the actual result. And then, zero knowledge, that was the 15 was the beginning kind of the ideas of zero knowledge, that this can be used. And we actually created this. So I'm here to use the technology and to make sure that technology is progressing forward, and many people and businesses are able to utilize it to create better use cases and create and progress the world into a better condition than it is right now.
What you're saying is, it reminds me of one of my favorite books, Sapiens. The author Yuval talks about what makes humans unique is really our ability to coordinate. That is what has allowed us to become the dominant species, to create this wonderful world that we live in. And coordination requires trust. And we have had this big issue online, digitally, and even in all the manners in which we connect with other humans, where trust is not guaranteed. There's no guarantee of trust. And all of a sudden, we have, as you said, this trust layer. It could take coordination to a level that we've never seen before. And it's already happening, which is why you have these incredible businesses being built. It gets me really excited about that philosophical view of what we're doing here and what we're building.
No, yeah, absolutely, totally second in this. We're on the same page here.
Okay, so let's go back for a second. When did you first fall down the crypto rabbit hole? 2015? Like, that's early.
Yeah,
Was it a friend that got you in? Was it, how did that happen?
I was a PhD student. I was finishing my education. By that moment in time, I was already working with the NVIDIA company. I was, doing some heterogeneous, parallel computers on GPUs. Back then, it was a very kind of new thing, but I was already working for several years. And in general, what I was doing for my PhD, it was high performance computing. I was calculating the oil fields, and these are pretty huge tasks that several computers need to coordinate together in order to actually get the result and do the proper calculation, and then you are able to analyze this. And when I saw the concept of blockchain, I thought that, well, it's kind of not very far from high performance computing. It just works a little bit different. You have the same setup, many computers, they need to coordinate with each other. Yeah, for this, we have this consensus protocol. And then together, they are creating something bigger than just a single computer can create. And because of this, it was a very straightforward concept for me. Yeah, and I never thought of it, but then just randomly, I bumped into a recruiter from Bitcoin mining company back then, Bitfury, and I knew nothing about it. And on the vacancy fair in my university, and she said, well, I mean, you can try to apply, but we're just selecting 1 out of 100 people to join us and all this stuff. And obviously, since I'm an A student, I said, okay, challenge accepted. I'm going to get through your freaking program. I'm going to prove to you that I'm a good one. But this was a hook. She knew what she was doing, right? So, and that's how I got to create.
And you got it?
Yeah. I got it, and I found in the company already some of my colleagues from the university, right? So people with whom I was educated. So
you saw that the smart people were headed towards blockchain. Okay, so then how did that lead to the founding of Aurora?
Yeah, so for several years I was working for Bitfury. I was one of the first people there in the software department. And then in 2018, my schoolmate, extremely talented and super bright man, connected me and say, hey, I've just found that you're doing blockchain on LinkedIn. And, I'm actually pivoting my AI company into the blockchain. So I'm also going to work on the blockchain. And I said, wow, cool, super nice. Let's get in touch. So we stayed connected. And then in 2020, when I became a free agent, this guy invited me to Near. And the guy's name is Ilya Polosukhin, and he is the founder of Near Protocol. So he invited me to take care of all of the EVM stuff, or like Ethereum focused stuff inside of Near. And back then there were only 2 components there. One is the bridge in between Ethereum and Near. And this bridge was semi-done when I joined, and it is called a Rainbow Bridge right now. One of the biggest bridges in the world right now. Never been hacked, super robust. These are all because of great engineers and great security people who are working for Aurora. And another thing was just the concept that we need to somehow allow Solidity contracts to be run on top of Near, because Near protocol is not compatible with Ethereum, right? So we need to create this compatibility solution that will allow to do it. And it was just an idea that kind of do this. And I joined and fulfilled this idea. And pretty soon, like in 3 months after I joined, we were catching up with Ilya, and he said that kind of, yeah, I mean, your first quarter in the company is going pretty well. So super nice to see it. Would you like to spin off in a separate company? And I said, what? I just joined. And he said, well, kind of decentralization, stuff like that. You support decentralization. I said, yeah. Well, then we kind of need to decentralize because it's going to make sense, right? Smaller teams, faster pace of development, stuff like that. And I said, yeah, it makes sense, but please give me a little bit of time to actually release stuff. So I joined in September 2020. In March 2021, we released Rainbow Bridge. In May 2021, we released Aurora. In June, we incorporated Aurora Labs as a separate company. That's my short story of how I became a founder.
It's very interesting to think about this in comparison to how a Web 2 business or any existing business would start. You mentioned composability, which is such a powerful, and decentralization, two of the main philosophies and mantras of what we are trying to build here. We'd love to get your thoughts on why do you think that it's so important to value those things, and what is different about Web3 that really allowed Ilya to say, I can't imagine, to be honest, a founder in Web2 or in traditional business saying, oh, spin off and go do your own thing. I want you to do that. In our current world, it's all about control and more revenue and bring everything under our world and and walled gardens, and we own the ecosystem. How do you sort of think about those two and that difference?
So actually the thoughts here are pretty straightforward. For blockchains and for protocols, the business model and kind of exit strategy by default is already solved in the very, very beginning, right? So for ordinary businesses, what you need to do, you need to create product, well, probably product. In 95%, you're creating a product. You need to find your target market. You need to iterate on this. You need to find a product market fit, sell it, and then it's at some point in time you need to think about the exit strategy. You either need to sell your company to somebody bigger, usually Microsoft, Google, Visa, MasterCard, whatever, or go in through a more complicated route and get into the IPO and then get your company listed on some kind of exchange, right? So that is a hard way, right, in general, how to do this and how to think about this stuff. Mm-hmm. Blockchains, from the other standpoint, they are much easier from this aspect because blockchains are platforms. And by default, the product market fit or like the business model is there. Every single time when somebody is doing the transaction, they need to use the token, the base mm-hmm. token that is associated with this blockchain. And since you're able to get these tokens also for the team, well, then this is the exit strategy. So you don't need to think about accumulating the value under the hood of a single company, mm-hmm. but instead you need to somehow stimulate more and more value accumulating by the protocol, right? Mm-hmm. So it means that it would be good for you as a founder in case there will be more activity on the protocol. And it's okay in case you are not in charge of this stuff. It's not a big problem. Mm-hmm. In case somebody else is doing this stuff, well, even better. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to spend your cycles onto this person. And in case he is able to navigate and he is sticking around, well, then it means that he's contributing. So this set of incentives are absolutely super mm-hmm. great aligned. But however, the blockchains are much more harder than ordinary businesses because on that standpoint, on the business model and on the exit strategy, everything is kind of easier. The bigger problem is that blockchains are never products. Blockchains mm-hmm. are platforms. So you need to take care now not only about people who are going to buy your product, but instead you don't have these people. You need to take care of two pieces, right? Because since you're a platform, you need to bring products on mm-hmm. your platform, and then you need to bring users mm-hmm. and try to marry them and then extract value out of this relationship in between products and users, right? And this is pretty hard, mm-hmm. right? So building a platform is just a very, very complicated thing, right?
There's so much to unpack in what you just said. One thing that I love that you said is we talk a lot about how businesses in Web3 experience much less friction, much less barriers to entry, much less barriers to getting started. And that is really one of the benefits to building in Web3. And one of the things it's still early, I think, as you mentioned, right now there actually still is quite a bit of friction only because of the complexity of blockchain, and the complexity is leading to just a lot of bad user experience, and bad user experience makes it difficult to onboard new users. So, but that will change. We will solve all of that. And we will get to a point where the friction to create a business will be so low that we've already seen this in the past few decades as the creator economy exploded and we had so many more solo entrepreneurs all around the world. Well, that's going to become, you add in blockchain and you add in AI, that's going to be on hyper speed as friction reduces. So that's one thing that you said that I thought was very interesting. The other thing that you spoke about is, I don't necessarily know that we need to go down this rabbit hole, but the challenges of building a platform ecosystem is very different than the challenges of building a business. But one of the beauties of it is if you can coordinate the right people around you, and they can then, with the simplicity of composability, build on top of what you're already building, then new ideas come that you would have never thought of, right? We all talk about how Vitalik didn't see Ethereum becoming what it is today in every aspect. He had ideas and he had visions, but there was things he didn't think about, and he needed those people around him in order to get there. We are on a very exciting time. Like, the trajectory and the path that we are on right now is so exciting. The potential is huge.
Are you about a bear market? So the potential to go down is very, very huge. Which also means that there will be some juicy deals for people who are trading.
That's right. We constantly say, buy the fear, sell the greed, right? That's the Warren
absolutely.
Buffett quote. Couldn't be more true. Now is certainly a great time to buy, not financial advice, but I think we all believe that.
But there are lots of fear.
At
least there are lots of fear.
Yeah, exactly. There's no shortage of fear. Okay, let's talk about Aurora. You mentioned it briefly. You told the origin story. What is Aurora? What's the mission of Aurora?
So right now we evolved from just the compatibility layer of Near, right? And we always have been thinking that Near is a tremendous layer one. It's a new generation. I always think of, Gen 1, it was Bitcoin. It just the concept of the blockchain. Gen 2 was Ethereum with an addition of concept of smart contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gen 3, I named that this is Near. I'm not naming Solana next to it because Near is focused on scaling and Near is horizontally scalable, right? And now Near stack and everything before was actually a teenager tech. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, but this is what we see, that EVM is extremely simple. We can teach our children in schools EVM. They're like, it's a super straightforward virtual machine. I mean, just great. The programming languages there can evolve, right? Solidity is not the best one, but they will be better, right? There is no problem with that. But Near was evolving this to the level of the real world. In real world, developers, they think about asynchronicity of the execution. They think about connecting through the APIs, and then this connection can potentially be not very stable. And then if you're talking about some kind of crazy use cases like Starlinks flying on the orbit, they're thinking about mesh networks, the connection channels that are opening and closing, and the algorithms on top of this mesh network. This is very, very complicated things. And the developers right now, blockchain developers are not ready for this, right? But let me stop here. From my point of view, Near is making a step for the blockchains into the scalability, and thus it inherits the asynchronicity concepts of this stuff. So in having this great technology at our disposal, and we were able to use it, we thought that why not we can scale Ethereum, like do the ultimate scaling of Ethereum. And we formulated our mission as that we are building infrastructure for super empowered people. This is literally one-to-one how it is written in the docs of the company. We do believe that blockchain empowers people, and because of this empowerment, they are able to create new use cases. And what we are doing, we're just building the old infrastructure that is required for this, right? Yeah, it's kind of this thing. So in the formal, if you will take a look at this formally, Aurora right now and everything that we are building is this is a set of products. It's not a single product. It's a set of products that are together becoming this infrastructure. So we do have, there is an Aurora mainnet that is maintained by us, and we're developing the code for it, like a protocol for it, right? So this is something that allows to run Ethereum smart contracts on top of more performant and faster and cheaper blockchain as Near. But we also have a solution that allows anyone to launch such a network, right? You can think of Aurora as an L2, and then everyone now is able to launch their own L2s. And the cool thing about it is that people can compose their L2s, which is a little bit strange how you can cross-network compose things. Is it impossible? Actually, it is actually possible in our setup, right? Because Aurora is just a smart contract that is working on here, right? So there is this connection. Then we have built also the global infrastructure, which is the RPCs and some additional things, and it is extremely scalable and it is extremely efficient. 50% of requests that are sent to our RPC infrastructure are answered within less than 2 milliseconds.
Wow.
It is just 2 milliseconds, right? It's not 20, it's just 2, right? And 99% of our requests are answered within 50 milliseconds. You are able to get this only in case you have an edge infrastructure, servers everywhere. We are one of the biggest clients for Cloudflare, who's taking care of the, of the routing of the different things. Crypto, obviously, blockchain clients of Cloudflare. So, and this all is needed to be a good infrastructure for people who are building on top of it, right? Super interactive use cases, all of these things, they do matter. We also going to launch next week our own crypto wallet that is focused on Web2 users who are onboarding to Aurora ecosystem, and it is going to work only for Aurora. It heavily utilizes our infrastructure, but it simplifies everything. It throws out the blockchain and all of the complicated blockchain concepts like per transaction payment, gas. What the heck is gas? Kind of stuck transactions.
Gas is what I put in my car, isn't it? What?
yeah, right. Right. This is kind of weird, just throwing it away and just transaction. Yeah, you just look at your phone. Transaction is there. Transaction is executed.
Yeah.
Right? This is kind of the feeling that you have when you're using Apple Wallet, right? So we are making a crypto wallet an Apple Wallet, right? So this is the transition that we're doing with this. Yeah, and there are tiny small things also around some additional stuff, but in general it is a set of products that are there to make the journey for users and businesses simple and straightforward, and in different cases they're going to use different products depending on their needs.
Right. And so initially the problem that you focused on was scalability, which is an issue that we talk a lot about in Web3, and an issue that I don't necessarily think that people grasp really, because those in Web3 have become so we've become used to high gas, we've become used to slow transaction speed. So we just kind of accept it. And that's at the current state. If we're going to onboard, billions of people, we need the scalability. It's so vital. And that's at the low layer of the tech stack and the infrastructure. So that was your first focus. And then more recently, you've been focused on AuroraCloud, which is really B2B, business solutions, which I love, because what we really need is, we talk so much about new businesses being started in Web3, right? New NFT projects, and I hate that we call them NFT projects. They're just a business that is using an NFT in order to provide value and an experience to their customers. But we don't talk enough about, okay, what are the existing businesses, and how do we get those existing businesses using blockchain? What are the challenges that they face? How do we provide them with this trust layer that we talk about, which can have such a benefit to their business? How do we enable them to reach new customers, to provide new experiences? And so that's the focus of AuroraCloud. And that is what I'm gathering is where you guys are going. And that's what excites me. So let's talk a little bit about Aurora Cloud. Maybe you can give us some examples of what are some businesses that you've worked with in Aurora Cloud, just so we can frame that. And then let's dive into some of the features and the products, such as the wallet and the no transaction gas fees and things like that.
Yeah. I'm going to start a little bit before this, right?
Okay.
This trust, decentralization, censorship resistance, this is something that only very few people in the world are caring about as concepts, as the end goal, right? And usually these people are just paranoics, right? So, because what decentralization and censorship resistance is protecting you from is like a black swan event, that something is going to go not as expected, and because of this you need to be censorship resistant in order to perform some operations, right? So web2 businesses are not thinking about this at all. What they're thinking of, sometimes they're thinking about de-risking, right? And they're measuring everything in terms of, the risk. And for such an event, the probability is extremely low, though the cost of this particular risk can be high. But when you multiply it by probability, you understand that the actual impact or the actual cost is not that high, right? So, but what they're thinking about is, how can I improve my revenues and how can I decrease my costs? This is what they're thinking about. So blockchain need to find verticals where it can give these additional bonuses here. And blockchain has been working towards this for a pretty long period of time. And right now we're starting to see these verticals to emerge and businesses starting to pick it up. So, for example, one of the good things that blockchain is able to do, and you're calling it NFT, what I call it is user engagement. So many businesses are really, really relying on user engagement because it directly translated into their revenues. Such verticals as gaming, the more user is engaged, the more he is spending. And what we see in the games, especially, it started with Dota, Counter-Strike, this moves from Steam, and then it in many different games, that when people are able to own something, then it's going to increases their engagement. They're starting to spend more time there. They're becoming fans of some pro players, and they would like to have the same skin that the pro player has, all of that stuff. So this is just a very human stuff, right? And also from the other standpoint, just people like to collect things, right? And yeah, it works. Another option for the user engagement is loyalty platforms, because the more loyalty is in your customer, the more he's going to spend on your particular brand. And voila, with NFTs and digital collectibles, the user engagement is able to get on the next level, because now it's not only in your single application when your loyalty points are exposed. Actually, your loyalty points are everywhere when you're dealing with things. You're able potentially do something with them, even outside of the platform, which is great because again and again you're reminding the user about your brand. And this is what Web2 businesses understand. With blockchain, you're able to increase your engagement. And that's why gaming companies are going into the blockchain. So here is an example, and here is the use case of a Korean company, Netmarble. This company is the 7th biggest publisher of the games in the world. Their revenue in the previous year was above $2 billion US. So several years ago, they opened a blockchain subdivision or blockchain division that they called MarbleX, and they started to develop blockchain games. And they are, again, pretty big company. They're developing AAA games, right? So AAA games mainly focused on consoles and mobile. So yeah, and they see that it is extremely important for them to make sure that the transition of the user from Web2 to Web3 is super simple, because right now their conversion rates are super low. And what they're trying to find out that, blockchain sorts out the problem with engagement and it makes it better. But now we need a technology go super down the stack, so it is not disturbing the user. He has the same fun of playing games. He gets additional engagement from the blockchain, from owning things, they actually owning things, but he doesn't need to think about per transaction fees. He doesn't need to think about all of the complication. And because of this, it is super, super important for them.
Doesn't need to think about turning his fiat into whatever
Exactly,
token it
doing
is.
KYC, using bridges, and then from time to time topping it up. It's not a game, it's not fun, it's hard work. Another option that Web2 businesses are understanding is tokenization of real world assets. This starts to become a pretty hot topic, and we see lots of an uptick of activity here. And by saying real world assets, I mean already several projects are tokenizing gold. Many projects are starting to put some kind of securities on chain or potentially real estate on chain. We have several clients who are doing real estate on chain with AuroraCloud. And the reason behind it is, again, it's not about decentralization. It's not about censorship resistance. You just forget about it. They are looking at DeFi and understand that DeFi brings benefits. And actually, these benefits can be translated into the real world assets. Tokens in blockchain are subdivisible up until 18th or 24th or whatever decimal, which is great because now, in case you have real world assets, you're able to fractionalize it. And more fractionalization means higher affordability of an asset. In case you don't need to invest $500,000 into this particular property, but you're able to invest only in 1 square foot of this property, like $1,000 US, that's good. Because now, because of fractionalization, the addressable market for this asset is bigger. Then the tokens, in case they are the real world assets, in case they're turned into tokens, well, now they are able to be used inside of the DeFi platforms, which means that they can be used as collateral, they can be traded secondary market, which means that the liquidity of these assets are improved, right? And more liquid assets, they cost more. That's super simple. Because of this, price is discovered much better. So the price discovery is good, which means that there is more trust from the investors that this particular asset is not very low or is having a proper price, right? And also it is very good for regulators because blockchain enforces transparency. It simplifies compliance because all of the moves are recorded in one big ledger. And on top of it, well, you can run your taxation software. You can actually input taxation directly on the level of the ledger and make it automatic, right? So, and I'm even not talking about, that proper blockchains are operating 24/7, right? Not 9 to 5 only on work days, right?
Right.
So, and these are the benefits, again, that are understood by Web2 businesses. That's why real estate agencies are coming and constantly saying, we want just to tokenize real estate mainly because of fractionalization. Then many companies are coming and saying, we would like to tokenize our business as a whole, just because we would like to make it also more affordable for people to onboard, and we would like to create additional use cases with our business, right? Because it is much simpler than just going on the IPO and then, this is something that is very, very well understood. Or, for example, we do have another client, and this is a big producer of PVC, polyvinyl chloride resin. Out of this resin, people are doing lots of plastic stuff, like plastic windows and different things. So what they are trying to fight is their supply chain. There are tons of resellers inside of the supply chain which are extracting lots of value. Then the resin producer is getting very low margin. The actual factory which is producing goods out of this resin is having also not a very big margin, but quite a large chunk of this margin is extracted by the resellers. They would like to track the supply chain. It makes sense because they would like to protect their industry from one end, and from the other end, well, actually they would like to stay also compliant with some of the regulations. Because, for example, in the US, in case you're producing something out of the US, like if the goods are produced in the US, there is a different taxation on it. And you don't need to pay any import fees, any import taxes. And for this, you need to prove that 60% of all of the components of your product, they were produced in the US. And how to prove it, in case you don't know how to do it, right? It's super complicated. And here you go. If you have a supply chain solution, Well, then you can track all of the way back down up until the initial kind of producer of the initial product that was used. And it's great because here is an example when businesses are saving or kind of decreasing their costs. So yeah, blockchain guys need to stop talking about decentralization and censorship resistance and stuff like that, and need to start talking about values that are understandable by Web2 businesses. And surprisingly, then they understand it, right? We start to talk the same language with them. That's an aha moment for them.
You make it sound so simple, Alex. Could you go on like a world tour maybe and just, meet with all the businesses, maybe do some like workshops and make sure everybody understands this?
Well, trying to do it.
I love that you focus on value. And I see this all the time talking to our listeners. People are saying, "Oh, how do I start an NFT project?" Well, that's not the question. The question is, how do you provide value to your customers, to your users? And how does blockchain enable you to provide more value? Or how do you become more compliant? And how does blockchain allow you to become more compliant? Or how do you track your inventory and your supply chain better? And how does blockchain allow that? Those are the questions that we should be asking. And you give so many examples of how that is coming to life. So let me ask you this then. I do want to talk about a little bit about the features of Aurora Cloud. Maybe before we get there, how do you find, are businesses coming to you and saying, hey, we know what to do with blockchain? Are you having to educate business? Like, I think what I'm getting at is like, how do we make businesses, leaders more aware of what you're talking about? Because as you said, right now, all they hear is decentralization and the teenager talk. They're not getting enough of the business talk.
Yeah. So businesses that are our clients, they are very different. I can tell you, they are pretty diverse. Even within a single vertical that we are focusing, there are people that are extremely highly educated about blockchain, potentially even having their own blockchain divisions, or people who are responsible for the blockchain strategy. They are educated, right? And then they're coming, okay, I know this stuff, kind of this, and that. And then we're saying, okay, you understand it, kind of as you like, right? We can provide some advice, but in many cases, they understand what they're doing. Other types of businesses are kind of, okay, we know the concept. We like the concept of the blockchain. We understand the value that it can provide, but we need some help. And then these customers need hand holding. Any of this move, it will require, first of all, being a good service provider. This is, again, something that crypto doesn't know how to do, right? At all, right? So we need to learn how to be a good partner, right, for everybody. How to notify people, how to say to them that something is off, having planned maintenances, all of these things, having projections in the costs for operation, budgeting things. How many crypto projects are doing budgeting? I mean,
None.
no, well, no. Aurora Labs is doing budgeting, right? So at least one. So yeah, that's very, very important, and I believe that here is the core. So you just need to be a good partner to this business, right? And how we are doing, since we are having not a single product, and it is not an off-the-shelf product that you just take and use. It's not a Candy Crush game, but it is more a tailored solution to all of these businesses. So what we're starting with these businesses, so in the very beginning, when they're coming in, we are saying, okay, this is going to be a journey. We need to go with you through the discovery process and understand what you need and what you don't need. We're going to explain you different aspects, and we're going to give you some suggestions about what we think makes sense for you. And in case we don't like what you're thinking, we're going to tell you, right? Don't worry, we're going to tell you. And you're going to see, just from your ordinary human, straightforward Web2 logic, that some stuff makes sense and the other stuff doesn't make sense. It's not about the technology and all of the nitty-gritty stuff inside. It's just about what makes sense. And then we are talking with them. Okay, what do you want? What is your goal? How do you see a projection of your company? Whether you would like to take care of the marketing also, right, of this new product that you're building. What is the target audience? is this Web 2 or this kind of Web 3, or this is your expansion into the Web 3, right? In case you're saying that this is the region and this is the audience, well, let's take a look at the market analysis there. What is the size? Is this okay for you or no, right? So we're kind of hand holding through this stuff, and then based on all of these inputs, we're saying, okay, you need to have this product you don't need right now, but potentially in future you maybe would like to use it, and that's okay, no problem. And we can do, for example, 3 options of how we are doing it. We can do a super simple one, but it will be less functionality, and you can start to test the hypothesis. Then you can go to the second version and the third version as an extension, right? And then businesses start to understand it, right? They're starting to, it's just being a good partner, being a good proper company that helps others to implement stuff. And then for everybody, yes, there are some things that you're taking off the shelf, right? Wallet can be used, right? In case this is a new company, yeah, but potentially they can use, their customers can use also MetaMask or any other wallet, no problem. Then yes, we have all of the technologies that we have been building for 2.5 years. I mean, they are at our disposal, right? So we are using them, but sometimes we need to tweak some of the pieces, right? The companies would like to, for example, fence. They would like to run their own network, and they would like to fence this network because they think that, okay, it seems like we're running security tokens inside of it. And, our friend Gary thinks that all of the tokens are securities, right? So perhaps it is actually security. So let's fence this network. Let's not allow anyone except for accredited investors, non-US citizens, being able to get there. So I don't have any problem because I don't want my main business to be disrupted, because I'm a Web 2 business and I know how to make money in the vertical that I'm working on, right? So I cannot risk it. So yeah, we need to fence it, right? So let's do this. We need to have a KYC solution. Do you have KYC? Oh, you have a KYC solution also. Great, then let's include it. So that stuff, it is a discovery process. It is not something like that. And then slowly, one by one, businesses are going to come. They need to do this proof of concepts or, kind of test deployments to see how things are going. And again, in comparison with what was 7 years ago, when I just was starting, and I thought that all of these things are so obvious, you're able to use this. But right now I got to the point when, okay, now businesses are starting to understand it, because we at last forgot, or some of us forgot about this teenager rebellion setup and started to talk with them as an adult with an adult. And we started to talk with them the same language that they are talking.
You're a management consultant almost in the beginning.
There is a portion of which is the consultancy services. Yes,
right.
For sure.
Is that a portion of the business model? Are you targeting that to grow and become a revenue stream? Or is that more of a necessary part that you have to provide right now until there is more ability for off-the-shelf solutions?
This is the necessary part. Overall, in the future, people are going to understand blockchain, and then for them it will be, okay, we need to run business. Obviously, we're going to use cloud. We need to, an AWS is a good solution. So I need to find an AWS engineer or an infrastructure guy who has been working with AWS and he knows everything, It's just a position with a job description, right?
Yeah.
But until that moment, when a blockchain engineer, stuff, or like Aurora engineer, Aurora infrastructure guy, up until that moment in time when this becomes a job description, already self-explanatory job description, there is a path, right? So we need to educate enough people for them to understand this, right? So we need to go on this journey with many people. So consultancy is for sure there going to be. And yeah, this part of the business is hardly scalable, right? So the only way how you're able to do this is in case you have, tens of thousands of people that are able to do this. And Big Four is demonstrating that they are pretty efficient in this stuff. So the only way how you are able to properly scale this is cooperate with other professionals in consultancy, and then they are able to scale you. Here we're going into kind of strategic partnerships. We're also exploring some of this, but we're not yet on the scale. It's an early stage.
So early, right? So right now, let's say one of our listeners has a existing business, a retail company or an e-commerce, they sell a product or whatever it might be. they're listening to this and they're saying, hey, I want to get in, I want to meet with Aurora Cloud. What does that look like? What's the discovery process look like? Is there a fee that they pay?
Exactly. So the thing that I would encourage this person, well, first of all, I would like to say to this person that you're an amazing guy because you're thinking about blockchain and you're thinking how to move your business and use the benefits of the blockchain. And I'm so glad to hear this. The thing that it might be interesting for you is to go to the Aurora Cloud website. It is just auroracloud.dev. DEV. And there are tons of examples there, tons of case studies that can spark your imagination about how you're able to apply blockchain for your business. And there is also a demo of some of the features, how this can work. And this demo is guiding you exactly, as I was saying, just hand holding you through different features and showing you what is possible. Now, obviously, every business is very, very different, right? Things that we are talking with one client, most probably they are just pretty unique to this particular client. And because of this, you are the best person to have some ideas on how blockchain can transform your business. But with all of this food for thought that you are able to get from the AuroraCloud.dev website, you will be able to generate some ideas, and then you can just write directly to us. There are all of the contact details there, and you can say, "Hey, I'm just bumping in this thing. I think that this kind of makes sense. What do you think? How we are able to engage?" And then we just get it from there. It's just a simple email, and we just continue.
Fantastic. I want to touch briefly on Aurora Pass, which you mentioned earlier in the episode, the wallet that you're launching, and Borealis Business, this concept and ability to eliminate transaction fees. So can you tell us a little bit about if these are the products within Aurora Cloud?
Yeah, these are Aurora Cloud itself is a set of products. It's not a single thing, right? And yes, Aurora Pass is a mobile wallet that is focused on Web2 users who are onboarding to the blockchain. So in case you're a Web2 business and you already have, for example, your mobile application, well, maybe you're a gaming company and you have your mobile application, which is your game, and you would like to onboard these people to your clients. You would like to onboard them to the blockchain. In such a case, Aurora Pass may be a nice option for you to use, right? Again, the using of Aurora Pass is absolutely free. There is no need to pay. There is no cost of integration. But the cool thing that it gives is an ability for users not to think about per transaction fees. For them, but somebody needs to pay for the transaction execution because this freaking blockchain somewhere underneath it has this sticky and very fat business model of per transaction payments. We are not able to eliminate it. So who's paying for the transaction? The answer is that it may differ, right? In case if you're launching your own business, then you're able to use Borealis, and not only to have a good infrastructure and good response time for all of your users around the globe, but also you're able to identify these users and actually pay for the execution of their transactions. In such a case, they are going to see that these are just free transactions that they're able to execute, while you are going to settle with us, even in US dollars, on a monthly basis with invoices, not per transaction fees. Yeah. And you are able to settle it absolutely separately, which is good for you. And this also kind of gives you an ability we are able to predict the cost of the transaction, right? Depending on the usage that you expect, right? So from that standpoint, you have now the tools at your disposal to actually do the budgeting for this interesting blockchain gig for your business. That's a good thing. But Borealis and an ability to pay for the user transaction is working not only with Aurora Pass, it works with any crypto wallet. That's the cool stuff. So with Borealis, you're able to pay for the transactions of your users, which simplifies the onboarding for you. But what happens in case a user of Aurora Pass is willing to transact with some kind of project who is not paying for the transactions of the users? What happens then? Well, in such a case, the user need to purchase transactions. They don't need to purchase crypto. They don't need to do KYC. They don't need to use fiat on ramps, and they don't need to use bridges. They're just clicking one button inside of the application and saying, I would like for $5 purchase 500 transactions, and that's it. And then they just looking at the screen. Apple Pay is doing its job, and that's it. You're just getting these transactions. The cool thing is that you're getting transactions. You are not getting crypto here, right? So we're separating this concept, right? But that's how Aurora Pass and Bora is business.
Very interesting. What I love about this is you're taking it from the viewpoint of better UX, which is the big challenge that businesses face, that users face right now. The analogy that a past guest used, I don't remember who used this analogy. Oh, it was Nigel, who's the former founder of FanDuel and now he founded Vault, which is a music blockchain product. And he used the analogy that in order to use blockchain right now, you basically have to be a car mechanic. Whereas not everyone's a car mechanic. They don't want to figure out what's under the hood and understand how everything flows and set up a wallet and onboard. And so you're making tools that make that much easier. Deep bow. Thank you so much to you and your team. That is exactly what we need to get to the onboarding of 1 billion people, because we won't get there without it. It's so interesting that you have approached it in this business mindset way of existing businesses growing. That's what we need more. There's just not enough of that. So I get really, really excited. I'm fired up about everything. Is anyone else focused on this? It's interesting. To me, Aurora has a lens that is not, we don't see this a lot. And maybe this is because most people are still teenagers in the space, as you said. Are there any other businesses that are approaching blockchain in this way?
Well, kinda. I mean, there is an extremely talented business development team, for example, in Polygon. So we've seen from them quite a lot of announcements. But again, from my point of view, in terms of the comparison of the technologies, Aurora's tech is much better, right? So we have here an additional advantage, but their BD is much better. There are others also who are trying to do these kind of the similar products, right? But in terms of the mentality, how they're approaching this, I don't know a good example, right? I know that even big four companies, in terms of the consultants, for example, they do have their own blockchain divisions. 5 years ago, I was meeting the head of blockchain division for Accenture, right? So, and they already 5 years ago, they have had a blockchain division because they need to consult, because any new disruptive technology is becoming a risk for businesses. So they're coming to big four and asking, okay, what I'm going to do with this? What should be my strategy? And they need to consult them, right? So, and because of this, there are quite a number of experience, quite a lot of experience inside of big consultancy companies, right? Also. And they are obviously talking much more Web 2 and much more business language than Web 3.
Right. So, which is exactly what we need to do right now.
And this is funny because them are extracting lots of value that kind of should be going into the Web 3, but it stays in Web 2. So
very true. Okay, I want to give you a chance to shill, and then we'll move on to a speed round. You already told us where people can follow go to your website, AuroraCloud.dev. We'll put that link in the show notes. I'm doing the show for you here, Alex. Make sure you guys go there. I think I've been on your website, and it's amazing how you break down the real value that blockchain can create in an industry, which is the way that people need to view and think about this more. Anything else you want to call our users to action, our listeners to action on? Where can they follow you personally online?
So, as everyone in crypto, I do have a Twitter account. You are able to find me at Alex Aurora Dev. Super simple. In terms of Aurora, check out, there are quite a lot of different things happening in the Aurora ecosystem. We have more than 200 projects that are live on Aurora and working there. In general, Aurora is one of the fastest and cheapest blockchains. Our transaction speed are just like below 2 seconds, and the cost of transaction is around 1 cent. And in case you are going to use a separate service, Aurora Plus, you're able to easily Google this, then you're able to actually get 50 free transactions with this stuff. And with Aurora Pass, since it is going to be pretty soon released, you will be able to get the same 50 free transactions per month. They're going to be replenished. It is us who is going to pay for your joy inside of the Aurora ecosystem. Besides that, I encourage you to take a look at the Aurora Plus release event. It is a very high quality Apple event style video. So you would be able to get lots of the similar ideas there. And the most important, in case you're a representative of some kind of business and you're thinking of expansion into the blockchain vertical, take a look at AuroraCloud.dev. Maybe this website is going to give you some additional ideas, and then maybe we can get connected and create a proper partnership together.
Wonderful. Okay, speed round before we wrap up here. Alex, who's your favorite person to follow on Twitter?
There are many people. Well, there are some people that I'm following. I cannot say that I'm following lots of people and that I'm enjoying all of the different things that they are saying. But I would probably note two. There is a crypto guy, Justin Bonds. And I like him because his ideas on scaling of Ethereum are very close to ours. That L2s in their current setup, they need to be upgraded in order to be able to actually truly scale. And then another one that many people are following is Alex Kruger, and he's just a fun guy and putting out lots of trading stuff, kind of things that are connected with prices and stuff like that. But and I know that I'm a super horrible trader, so sometimes just reading Alex and thinking that maybe he has some insights and he has lots of knowledge.
Wonderful. Okay, a must-read book.
So a must-read book inside of Aurora Labs, because this is one of our core values, is extreme ownership. So I highly recommend you. This is a business book. In case you don't want to read the whole long book, I encourage you to listen to an audio book. It was recorded by the author. His name is Jocko Willem, and he's an ex-SEAL, Navy SEAL, and so he is, So the situation was this. We got in the battlefield. It was really hard. Stuff like that. So that's an interesting piece of work to listen. But even in case you're not going to listen to it, you can always find, like a extreme ownership in 5 minutes. There are lots of ideas there that we apply every day at Aurora. And these ideas can substantially simplify your point of view on the world and how you're executing anything. And I just believe that's a pretty valuable book and valuable point of view.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'd never read the book, but I've done the 5-minute version before, and I've certainly learned a lot. Okay, last question. If you had a billboard that 1 billion people were going to see, what would you write on it?
So in these market conditions, I know that there are tons of fear and where lots of people are very stressed out. And I know this because some people at Aurora are pretty stressed out. So what I am doing as a leader is that I'm devoting time to explain what is happening and trying to just be there, just be next to these people. So I'm probably going to write on this billboard right now, "These too shall pass." Right. Mm-hmm. So just wait a little bit, things are going to become better. The Gary is going to pass. I mean, not fully, but, the situation is going to pass. All of the scams and all of, the FTX, Luna, Voyager, Celsius, this also is going to pass, right? Things are going to become better. Try to concentrate on positive things. Mm-hmm. And the positive thing about crypto is blockchain itself, is technology. So concentrate on good things and uninstall CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap from your phone. Just throw it away. Don't open the prices and just spend more time with your family, right? So these too shall pass. Everything will be good.
I love it. Wonderful words to wrap up the episode. Alex, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being a builder in the space. It was a joy to have you on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and subscribe or follow so that you don't miss the next one. While you're at it, there's a link in the description for our free newsletter where we provide timely and relevant Web3 insights so you can confidently build and invest in Web3. Make sure to subscribe today. One final note. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto and Web3 are risky, and you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.